All right, so this should be part 2 of section 3.6. It's not much here, but it's probably still going to be 25 minutes. So let me just walk through an example here and help you understand what the next kind of concept is. So $15,000 is still owed on a car loan. The loan has an interest rate of 5% compounded monthly, calls for monthly payments. The current payment is $250 per month. How long will it take to pay the loan off? How would I do this? This is a tricky part because I have 2 different dollar amounts. And when you have 2 different dollar amounts, signs become important. So let me try to walk through these figures. The first amount I see is a loan amount of $15,000. The amount that you owe, or the amount that you borrow, or the amount that you currently owe is always going to go as a PV on the TVM solver. The next figure I see in this problem is 5%. That must be an interest rate. I'm going to put that in as an I. It says that it calls for monthly payments, so I'm going to assume that monthly payments tells me that the PY is equal to 12, the CY is equal to 12, and by default, I'm going to assume the future value is 0 because I always want my car to be paid off at the end of the loan. The tricky thing here is it says the current payment is $250. That's going to be the PMT, and this is where signs are going to become important. Usually when I'm making car loans, a PMT comes back as a negative because it's money I'm spending. A PV, which is either the loan amount or the balance of the loan, goes in as a positive because that was money given to me to kind of pay the car off to the seller, and I'm paying the bank back. They gave me that money to give to the car seller, and now I'm paying them back. So the PV in this problem is going to be the amount still owed. It needs to be a positive amount. And so when I went to do this on my TVM solver, I'm going to put in 15,000 for the PV. I put in 5 for the interest rate. It calls for monthly payments, so I put 12 in for the PY, 12 in for the CY. On all loan problems, I want the future value to be 0. I'm leaving all of these begin ends on end. And then the current payment is $250 per month. The $250, because it's money I'm spending, needs to be negative. The question is, how long will it take to pay the loan off? This tells me to solve for n, because how long means number of payments it's going to take. So I'm going to solve for n. And how do I do this on my calculator? Real easy. I go to my TVM solver screen, and I start entering everything but the n. I'm going to leave the n alone. I'm going to put 5 in for the I, 15,000 in for the PV, using the negative in the bottom row of my calculator, and then 250 in for the PV, FV0, PY0, PY12, CY12, PMT end. I go up to the N, I hit the green alpha button, and I hit enter. That says it's going to take 69.19 months to pay the car off. So what does that mean? I wrote for my answer about 69 months. It means it's going to take 69 full payments of $250 and 1 small payment of, I don't know how much, but I don't need to figure out how much. We can figure out how much the extra small payment would be, the 70th payment, but I won't do that. And my answer here, about 69 months, should be fine. So I'm going to walk through problem 19 and not do problem 20. So I know for these problems I'm using the TVM solver screen. So I'm going to need an N, an I, a PV, a PMT, a FV, a PY, a CY. And in loan problems, without even reading, I'm going to make the FV0, I'm going to make the PY and the CY12. I'm going to leave my calculator on end, and I'm only going to fuss with the other values. For loan problems, all those are going to stay the same. So $10,000 is still owed on a car. That's going to be a PV, and it needs to be positive. The loan has an interest rate of 2.9%. That's going to be my I. and it calls for monthly payments. The monthly payments makes the PY and the CY12. The current payment is $200 per month. That's a PMT, and PMTs for car payments or house payments go in as negatives. How long will it take to pay off the loan? This is where I'm going to have to hit the green alpha / solve. And then it says round to the nearest month. So I'm going to round to the nearest whole number here. So let me get this loaded up on my calculator. I don't enter an N yet. I enter 2.9 for the I, $10,000 for the amount owed, -200 for the PMT. The bottom stuff is all okay. I arrow up to the N. I hit my green alpha button followed by enter, and it tells me it's 53.35 months, and I'm going to say that's about 53 months, and I'm really just wondering. I have a different answer staring at me. I feel so good about that. I'm going to say this is 53 months. I wonder if do something off screen so you're not seeing it. Oh, well, how cool was that? I wasn't sure what I did wrong on my calculator, so I said, well, what happens if I made the PV and the PMT the same and I tried to solve for N? When I hit alpha and enter, look at it. Whoops, it didn't. I take that. I don't need to show you that. Well, just a second ago, it said no sign change and gave me a lovely error amount. But anyways, I feel good about the work. The answer should be 53. Oh, it is. Duh. I just was looking at the wrong answer. The answer is 53 payments. I got 53.36, but it says to round to the nearest month, so I'm going to write with 53. So give 21 a go. For 21, I came up with 59.92 on my calculator, and if it says round to the nearest month, I should probably say 60 months for an answer. So why don't you try to get 21? I'll skip 22 and I'll walk through 23 with you. For 23, I'm assuming it's going to be 191 for an answer. So let me walk through 23 real quickly while you get 21 done. For 23, 150,000 is still owed. That's going to be the PV. On a home that has an interest rate of 4.5%, that's going to be the I. It calls for monthly payments. That's going to make the PY equal to 12, the CY equal to 12, and for home loans, I'm always going to make the future value 0. The current payment is $1,100 per month. That's going to be at my PMT, but I'm going to need to make it a negative. And then how long will it take to pay off the loan? I'm going to solve for N. So for problem 23, the N's what I'm going to solve for. And for I, I'm going to plug 4.5%. And for PV, I'm going to plug 150,000. And for payment, I need to have it negative, a negative 1,100. And then the bottom stuff I always leave for car loans or home loans. FV0, PY12, CY12, and then leave it at end. And now I'm going to green alpha solve. So on my calculator now, the best I can, I go up to the I and type 4.5, PV and type 150,000, PMT type negative 1,100, have the bottom stuff okay, go up to the N, hit the green alpha button, followed by enter. I get 191.32. It says round to the nearest month, so I put 191 in for it. One last kind of problem to muddle through. This feels like a realistic problem. I used to do this when, I was worried about how much of a loan I can take. So last kind of example, Anthony can afford $350 a month for a truck payment. That must be a PMT, and payments for car problems are always put in as negative. What size of truck loan can he get if he plans to finance? Let me do two parts. First part, for 6 years or 72 months, that means the N is going to be 72, has an interest rate of 5%, so the I is going to be 5. What I'm trying to find out is the size of loan he can take, and that means I'm going to solve for PV. The PV is where you put the loan amount, Anthony wants to know what loan amount he can get for his $350 a month payment. And Anthony's my brother's name. My brother likes driving F-350 trucks. Not much of a F-350 truck for that. So let me try to figure this out. For this problem, part A, I'm going to put 72 in for the N because that's his first. He'd like to finance for 6 years if he can get a good enough loan. For the I, I'm going to plug in the 5% here. The PV, that's what I'm going to solve for. That's what I'm going to green alpha and enter for. The payment should be in as a negative, and he's affording $350 a month, so I'm going to put negative $350 in for the payment. And then the rest, I'm just going to assume the FV is 0, the PY is 12, the CY is 12, and I'm at N for all car problems. So I have everything in here except I haven't solved for the PV. I'm going to solve for my PV by arrowing up to the PV. I'm going to hit the green alpha button followed by enter. And he can get a $21,732 loan. That's not going to get you much at all in terms of an F-350 truck. Definitely not a new one. Probably not one that's even 5 years old. Let me do part B. Same question. What if he wants to find, same question, he still wants to buy a car. His payment's going to be $350 per month. But now let's say he can finance for 5 years or 60 months instead of 6 years. Well, of course, if you're going to finance for shorter, your loan amount has to be less. So let's do part B here. For part B, his N is going to be the number of payments, which is 60. His I is still going to be this 5%. His PV is what we're solving for. He still wants to pay $350 a month, so his PMT is going to be negative $350. And then for car problems, the FV is 0, the PY, the CY are 12, and I leave my calculator on end. So to do part B, I change the N to 60. I leave the I at 5. I leave the payment at negative $350, and I have the 0, 12, 12 and end in. I scroll up to the PV. I hit the green alpha button followed by the enter, and that's going to tell me if he finances for 5 years, he can only get $18,546, and I'm going to round that to 75 cents for a loan. All right, so just a few more problems to do. I'll walk through 25 with you. I'll skip 26. 25 is just like we've done, so let's give this a go. I'm going to work on 25 part A. And I have my answers written off to the side here. For part A, if you want to give it a go without me doing it, try to do it and get $15,000 and $15,084.88 is what I'm supposed to get for part A. And for part B, I'm supposed to get $12,931.39. So when I go to do part A, I read through the problem. Anthony can afford $250 a month for a truck. His PMT, because it's a payment, it needs to be negative, is going to be negative $250. What size truck loan can he take if for part A, it's for 6 years, so the N is 72. The interest rate, the I is 6. I'm going to solve for PV. So for part A, let me start setting this up. I need an N, an I, a PV, a PMT, an FV, a PY, a CY, and an N. Again, for all my car loans, FV0, PY12, CY12. And as I go to do this problem here, the PMT is going to be negative 250. The N is going to be 72. The I is going to be 6%. And I'm going to solve for the amount of loan that he can take, which should be that $15,000 by alpha solving on the PV. Let me get these all entered up real quickly. I'm going to plug in 72 for my N, 6 for my interest rate, negative 250 for the payment. The bottom stuff just kind of stays, so I don't need to worry about it. I cursor up to the PV, I hit my green alpha button followed by enter, and I get something that rounds to $15,084.88. Now I'll move on to do Part B. The only difference between Part A and Part B is the length of the loan. Everything else is going to be the same. I know this is a loan problem, so I'm going to leave the FV at 0. I'm going to leave the PY and the CY at 12. And I'm going to leave the bottom at end. As I go through and read Part B, first thing I see is an N of 60. I still have the same negative $250 a month payment. I see an interest rate of 6%, and I'm going to solve for the PV, and hopefully it's $12,931.39. So on my calculator, N to 60, I for 6, everything else down here is the same as Part A. I go to the green, up to the PV, hit my alpha and enter, and I get $12,931.39, which is perfectly correct. All right, give 27 a go, and for 27 for Part A, assuming my key is right, you should get $28,661.27. For Part B, I got $32,515.20. So try to pause the video and do those. And we'll look at 29 and 30, and maybe just, I'll do 29 with you and not do 30. So let's see about 29. I think I'm going to be, because it's in this group of problems, going to need to set it up like this. And because we're in the loan section, I'm going to just by default fill in the bottoms. So Jack and Jill can afford $1,200 a month for house payment. That's the PMT. It's going to go in as a negative $1,200. What size home loan can they get if they finance for 30 years or 360 months? The N is 360. And it's 4.5% compounded monthly for the interest rate, so the I is 4.5%. I'm going to solve for the home loan, which is the PV. So I got everything entered. I snuck those in at the beginning for all our loan problems. Those are going to be the same. And let's work on this now. So my N is 360. My interest rate is 4.5%. My payment is negative $1,200. I go up to the PV. I hit the green alpha and then the enter, and they can get a $236,833.39 payment, assuming I haven't messed up, and exactly I get $236,833.39. One last problem for you to do, which is problem 31. And the answer to problem 31, assuming I have a correct key, is $135,819.44. And I'll talk you through it real quickly. I know in this problem I'm going to solve for PV. And for all these loan problems, I know I'm going to put the PY equal to 12, the CY equal to 12. I'm going to leave my calculator on end, and I'm going to have the FV at 0, so you're not worried about any of those. You're really just worried about figuring out an N, an I. You're solving for PV, and a PMT. So you need to fish through this problem and get an N, an I, and a PMT. The PMT should be negative. It's going to be a negative 750. The N is the number of payments, and it's going to be the 360, and the I is the 5.25%. I'm assuming if you get all those entered up, it should give you the $135,819.44 loan Jethro and Ellie can take to get that payment that they're looking for. So that's everything for this section. So hopefully it was a kind section. The next section on savings is actually a little bit trickier because the PY and the CY aren't always the same, specifically because people usually, when they're saving for retirement, take money out of their paychecks. And some people get paid twice a month. Some people get paid every 2 weeks, which means sometimes you get 3 checks in a month, and that makes the PY and the CY change from problem to problem. It makes them a little bit harder. So we'll just stop and be done with section 3.5 and not 3.6.